Welcome to the Knowledge Lab. Fuel your mind with science. What if I told you that there was a time when glowing in the dark wasn't scary? It was fashionable. And what if I told you that hundreds of young women were literally glowing? Not with health or beauty, but with radiation. This is the haunting true story of the Radium Girls, the forgotten heroes who unknowingly sacrificed their lives while painting glowing watch dials. They were told it was safe. They were told it was glamorous. But what they didn't know was that death itself was slowly ticking. Just like the watches they painted. Welcome to Knowledge Lab, where today we dive into one of the darkest chapters in the history of science and technology. Let's rewind the clock. It's the early 1900s, and the world is fascinated by a brand new element, radium. Discovered by Marie and Pierre Curie, radium was seen as magical. It glowed in the dark. It was used in medicine, cosmetics, even toothpaste. Yes, toothpaste with radium. Back then, no one fully understood how dangerous it was. In fact, radium was marketed as something healthy. People believed it gave you energy and cured diseases. They even called it liquid sunshine. But while the world marveled at this glowing miracle, something darker was taking shape. In cities like Orange, New Jersey, and Ottawa, Illinois, factories were hiring young women to work as dial painters. Their job? Paint numbers on watches and military instruments with a special luminous paint made from radium. The paint was called undark, and it glowed beautifully in the dark. These jobs paid well. The factories were clean, modern, and filled with laughter. The girls, many just teenagers, felt proud to contribute during wartime. They were even taught to do something called the lip-pointing technique. That meant they were told to put the tip of the paintbrush in their mouth to make it fine and sharp every few minutes. Imagine that. Dipping a brush in radioactive paint, then licking it dozens of times a day, every single day. But no one warned them. Instead, they were told, it's completely safe. You can even wear it like makeup. It's good for you. Some girls painted their nails and teeth for fun. They glowed when they walked home. They were known in town as the Ghost Girls. But years later, things began to change. The girls started to suffer from strange symptoms. Teeth falling out, jawbones disintegrating, severe anemia, bones that crumbled under the skin. Doctors were baffled. At first, they thought it was syphilis. Some even blamed the women themselves. But soon, the truth emerged. They were dying of radiation poisoning. The radium they had been ingesting had entered their bones, and there it stayed, slowly killing them from the inside. One woman's jaw literally detached from her skull. Another's spine collapsed completely. And still the factory denied everything. They said it wasn't radium. They said the girls were exaggerating. They even hired doctors and scientists to cover up the evidence. But some of these women refused to die silently. Led by Grace Fryer, a former dial painter, a group of sick and suffering women decided to take the company to court. It was unheard of. Women suing a powerful corporation. In the 1920s, and for a disease caused by science no one wanted to believe was dangerous. But they fought. Despite being weak, unable to walk, or even speak properly, these women showed up in court, and the world finally began to listen. Newspapers picked up the story. The public was outraged. And eventually, the company lost. The Radium Girls didn't just win compensation. They won something much bigger. A revolution in labor rights and science ethics. Because of their bravery, workers were given the right to sue for occupational diseases. When strict regulations were put in place for handling radioactive materials. The world began to understand the real dangers of radiation, but it came at a terrible price. By the time justice was served, Many of the women had already died. Their bones dug up decades later still glowed in the dark. Yes, even in death, the Radium Girls continued to shine, as a reminder of how dangerous blind faith in science can be, and how brave truth-telling can be even in the face of death. Science is a powerful tool. It can cure, it can create, but when misused, or when profits come before people, it can destroy lives. The story of the Radium Girls isn't just history, it's a warning. So next time you admire the glow of technology, remember the girls who paid the price for it. With their bones, with their breath, with their lives. This was Knowledge Lab. If you found this story important, share it, like, and subscribe for more untold truths from the world of science and technology. And always remember, science can light the world, but who holds the torch matters.